Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about absolute value functions. So let's get started. One of the first things I want to do is make sure that we're okay with the formula. So it's, okay, sorry about that. Let's try that again. Y equals A times the absolute of X minus H plus K. Now, the X, or the H and the K translate to our vertex of X and Y. Since the X minus part doesn't change, sometimes that gives us that hint. The A part is our slope. So let me get started by showing you an example. So if we have Y equals absolute value of X minus 2 plus 3. That means that our vertex, because it's already a minus, so I'm just going to take it as is going to be 2, 3. And our slope, I'll call it m because we're used to that, is going to be 1. Okay? And so we're just looking at equations, we're just going to work on breaking them down. Okay? But what happens if we have y equals, I'm going to use the same numbers just so you can see, x plus 2 plus 3. Okay? Well, what would this need to be if this is an x minus something 2? Okay, could we leave it as a positive 2? Or because it's a plus sign, we have to make it a negative? Good. So it would end up being a negative 2, positive 3. We have the same slope of m is 1. Okay, so we're going to really just start by looking at some equations and seeing if we can figure out the vertex. Okay, so just keep this in mind. We're just going to use this formula to help us. So, number 1, y equals 2 times the absolute value of x minus 3. Okay, so we're going to find our vertex first. So I'm going to go, okay, so this is that minus, so I can just leave this as a positive. Uh-oh, where's this part? So remember, if it's not there, with the exception of that invisible one, it's just a 0. So it would be 3, 0, and our slope would be 2. Okay? So it shouldn't be too bad, hopefully. So let's just work on finding vertex right now and slope. Y equals absolute value of x plus 4 minus 2. So this part, because it's that plus sign, it would have to be the opposite since our formula tells us it's a minus. And in order to get from that minus sign to a plus sign, it has to be a negative because it's that minus negative. So it's going to be negative 4, negative 2, because we just bring that one down. And if it helps, our slope is going to be 1. So, example 3, y equals absolute value of x. Okay, so this one appears to be less, and in some ways it's somewhat easier, but since there's nothing there for my h and there's nothing there for my k, so, I don't have anything in there, and I don't have anything on the outside. Remember, if there's not there, then it's just going to be those zeros. So in this case, it happens to be the origin. Okay, number 4, y equals 3, absolute value of x minus 5 plus 7. Okay, since it's a minus sign, that means my x stays the way it is, so it's just that 5, and then we have the 7. Okay? Just like that. Okay. Are we good so far? Okay, now let's talk about, how we know if this is maximum or minimum. So one of the things we're going to start by doing is looking at absolute value graph. This, when it opens up, that means that this has to be the minimum. This is the lowest point on our graph. And that happens to be the vertex. If it opens downwards, this means that this is the highest point on our graph because it's opening downwards. I'm sorry, this one was opening upwards, this one's opening downwards. Now let me give you a general of what the equation would look like. Y equals A, absolute value of x, minus h plus k. Okay, this is for this one. And so whatever our vertex is here, that will be the minimum of the graph. This one would be y equals negative a, absolute value of x, minus h plus k. And that would be the maximum. So one of the things to take note of, please, is this part. That's a positive. This is a negative. Okay? So really right now, all I want you to do is look at, okay, how do I find the vertex? And we're using our formulas, since there's no graph, to help us figure that out. Okay, so we're just going to start there. So like I said, I'm going to make this short. In the next one, I'm going to talk about how we can use this information to help us graph. Okay? So good luck. Remember, if you have questions, let me know.